He knows it doesn't matter what's under a hood. The only thing that matters is who's behind the wheel.
When I'm flushing it, I don't stick divots.
But again, with the driver right now, the driver sucks.
I tried to activate my glutes the best I could.
Most important thing, make sure you fade it.
Hello and welcome back to Under the Covers, a golf podcast where we deep dive each week into the latest PGA Tour winners bag. We're your hosts. My name is Dominic and I have Kevin with me today.
Thank you, Dominic. Happy to get into the Valero Texas Open. I got my TPC San Antonio hat on here right now from when I went to go watch the tournament a couple of years ago. Great course, great venue, cool resort by Marriott down there.
Was it 2024?
That would have been, good question. It was either 23 or 24.
I'm curious because the last two winners were lefties. So you would have been there to see Akshay, or I think it was Akshay in 24, and then Brian Harman last year.
Yeah, we were just there to watch our family connection on the tour, so we didn't stay for the winner. We followed 4 rounds with him and then left.
Nice. Still very cool though. Love it.
Yeah, lots of fun. It's a really cool course. It's deceptively really rocky. Like everything in the woods is just pure rocks. And I remember seeing we can get into it later, but JJ Spaun had a wedge today that he was baffled by the shot because there's a rock right underneath his ball.
Yeah, and we'll get into that a little bit more on the Valero Texas Open. We got a pretty fun show for you. It's a little bit different, but still a lot more of the same stuff we got going on. So we're going to do an Under the Covers with our winner, JJ, that Kevin mentioned. Then we're going to do a little bit more of a recap of the Valero Open, talk about the weather delays, those tough greens, things like that. Kind of go into a little bit of what's happening in the golf world right now. And instead of a Masters preview, we actually have a separate Masters episode coming out around the same time. Right now it's Sunday night after the tournament finished. So we're going to get this edited, maybe posted on Monday. And then Monday evening or sometime during the day, we're going to get a fun little phone call. Matt is currently not with us, but he is in Augusta, Georgia, getting ready to go tour the course for the Monday practice rounds. And then he's going to give us a call from the payphones potentially, maybe do a hotel situation at the end. We're not really sure, but we're going to have a really fun time with it. We already recorded a lot of the preview, and it's very fun to go through. We did a draft scenario. We kind of went through a few topics and chose our own. But yeah, so make sure to check that out after this one is posted. And then just like normal, we're going to go into a little bit of trivia and then kind of recap our one and dones for the week. JJ Spaun is our winner of the 2026 Valero Texas Open at TP San Antonio. This is his third career win, which, funny enough, his first win was at the Valero Texas Open. So he currently has 2 there and then the other one at Oakmont. But his opening round, 69, 69, 66, and then a very impressive 67 to close off and kind of outlast Bobby McIntyre with a finishing score of 17 under, it was a wild finish. I don't know if Bobby lost it or if JJ won it. I think it's safe to say JJ won it, but Bobby really missed a lot of opportunities there coming down the stretch. JJ, like I said, outlasted him, finished it with a 67, which is the lowest round of the day. Him, Siwoo Kim, Hui, they all had 67, which is the best, and very hard in those conditions, especially after finishing that third round from Saturday. Just a weird weekend for San Antonio. There's so much wind, rain, too many delays, I feel like. Every time I looked at the TV, it seemed like we were just on another one.
Yeah, weather delay in the first 3 rounds and then rain all day Sunday. It was colder, in San Antonio than it was up here in St. Louis. But yeah, I think your description was pretty accurate of who, did JJ win it or did someone else lose it? And it's both, because JJ shot 5 under and had the low round of the day. So he certainly went out and won it, but other guys were right there, and it just a little bit close, one more shot here or there, and they would have won.
I was kind of giggling where Matt Wallace, he had a great round and then ended up being right up there, tied for second. I think he actually held the lead there for a bit, but I was telling Bree it would really suck to have such a good round and then you just have to wait for 2 hours to see if you win.
Yeah.
When I think everyone still had their back nine left.
Yeah, that would be brutal, very stressful, and you're trying to like stay loose if you go to a playoff, and you never know what's going to happen. It's sometimes I think the guys when they finish, if they know that they don't have a chance, they just start like packing up and moving on to their next thing. And if you're going to the Masters, like you're really trying to prepare and get ready for practice rounds, and so you want to get on the road as fast as possible. And if there's a chance that you're going to win, you just got to sit around and wait and stay loose and keep the mental focus where it needs to be rather than thinking of what's next.
Yeah, and he was already there all day, and then he had to wait, and then eventually, I wonder if JJ Spaun getting ahead of him. I wonder if he just dipped right there. He's like, I don't need to be here anymore. I can leave. So then, but what was interesting with JJ's, I feel like every time I saw him on the broadcast, he had just a weird spot to get out of. Either he was missing a big putt on the green or hitting on a slanted hill where it's basically a baseball swing, or like you said, he's hitting out of the rocks.
Right. It's like under a branch on top of a rock.
But his scrambling, I need to see his scrambling stats because he seemed to just make it work. But then, like we said, he definitely won. He earned his spot up there because through the last, 5 holes, he was 4 under with that sick eagle on 17 when he drove the green. He was replicating, they were showing replays of his drive at Oakmont too. That kind of put him ahead. Once again, he wasn't the last group out. He just kind of came back for the lead, had a sweet drive to drive a par 4, and then drain the putt to get him over the hedge. So just 2 incredible finishes for him. And he's really not had a great year so far. I think he's only made 4 cuts, this one being one of them. There's not the best start that you want, but he definitely finished today. It was pretty sweet to watch.
Yeah, he had a great season last year, obviously, with winning the U.S. Open. But you asked about his scrambling stats, and he was 26th in the field in scrambling. He finished 16 out of 22 for 72% scrambling. So nothing to sneeze at, but not top of the field.
Okay. Well, JJ is a very interesting man, and you'll see that his club manufacturing choices are also very interesting. So those head covers are dying to get slipped under. So let's slip under the covers. Let's slip under the covers.
Yes.
What does he got?
So his driver we've seen a couple times so far this year. He's got Titleist GT3. I'd be interested to see if he moves to the GTS soon. But currently in the GT3, Ventus Black Velocore Plus 6X. The shaft I got in my 5-wood right now. Pretty cool shaft. The Ventus Black is all over the PGA Tour. I think Fujikura posted last year that they captured all 4 majors. All 4 majors, and they were all using either the blue or the black, with the black being the most common for sure for people with PGA Tour swing speed. Pretty cool there. His woods, he's got a 3-wood and a 7-wood. So the QI10, so a couple of years old now, TaylorMade. And the Mitsubishi Diamana PD 70TX in the 3-wood and 80TX in the 7-wood, which we've looked at a couple weeks ago and discussed. The PD was Diamana's 5th generation shaft, their lowest launching, lowest spinning shaft of that generation. So, pretty, again, common with the PGA Tour guys, and right in line with him using the Ventus Black on his driver. A little bit curious that he doesn't use the Diamana in the driver, or vice versa, use the Ventus Black in his woods. But there's something he likes about them. I think they're a little bit higher torque than some of the other low launch, low spinning shafts. So that would, help. He's not like the fastest swinging guy on tour, but he still wants the low launch, low spin. So maybe that torque on his woods just works for him.
Mm-hmm.
So then moving on to his irons, cool setup here that we've also again previously discussed. Strixon is making a big move in being really quality clubs that they just kind of fly under the radar a little bit, but basically like they've been winning on tour, and everyone who has them like absolutely loves them. So he's got the ZXI 5 4-iron and the ZXI 7 5 through pitching wedge. So players cavity back in the shorter irons, and then a little more forgiveness in the 4-iron. Rewinding a little bit, the 7 wood has replaced a lot of utility irons or hybrids in people's bags, gets them higher launch and more stopping power. So he goes straight from that 7 wood into his 4-iron. And then he's got Dynamic Gold X100 shafts. Again, very popular shaft, one we've talked about a lot, and one that's been around the tour for quite a while. Again, consistent with the shafts he's got in his woods. So pretty steady so far in his set makeup compared to what we would expect. We've had some goofy what's under the covers in some recent weeks, but JJ seems to make sense so far. On his wedges, he's got Cleveland RTX Zip Core. He's got the Tour Rack on his 54 and his 60. Here's a little bit different of a loft makeup than we see sometimes, but it's not that crazy. So he's got 50, 54, and 60, so 6 degrees in between each. Sometimes we've seen 50, 54, 58, or 52, 56, 60, usually that 4-degree gap in between. So he's got 6 degrees.
Yeah, Editor Dominic here. So Kevin wanted me to jump on and just clear the air on some numbers that went missing here. 50 to 54 is a 4-degree difference. And then 54 to 60 is a 6-degree difference. But he really wanted me to let y'all know that he knew he messed up. And I didn't want to just put text here. So yeah, ignore what he just said. Doesn't matter to the degree difference. But very cool clubs. So back to your regularly scheduled programming.
I think he would like, being able to use his 60 around the greens and, in bunkers and stuff, but get a little more distance out of his sandwich, or maybe he likes to flight his sandwich down a little bit less than some other guys. My personal makeup, I got 50, 54, 58. And yeah, I think Matt does too, but his are bent all wonky.
Yeah, I was curious too, because most of us will have a 60, not use it well. But then these pros, they always typically have a 60 or 58, kind of close there. But I'm curious to know how many actually use their highest lofted club for a 3/4 swing or whatever. Or are most people manipulating that 54, 56 wedge to whatever they want? Because, I feel like there's so much, it's easier to control. And it probably has to do with the bounce.
Yeah, I think it would really just depend on where that shot is and where the pin is. They all have a ball flight in mind for how much rollout or how much spin they want. And I think flighting a 60 would be a little bit more challenging, but they're PGA Tour pros and these guys are real good.
Yeah. And he's really interesting too, because he's almost like a little Frankenstein of the previous winners. I think he kind of takes one thing from every other winner. It's pretty common to have the QI10 woods, but we've seen somebody with the ZXI 5 4-iron and then the i7 cavity backs. We've seen plenty of people with the Zip Core and the True Temper S400 wedge shafts. We have everyone with the step down 6, 7, 80 gram woods. It's really cool to see that he really doesn't have a single manufacturer. He uses them all perfectly, and he's kind of just, I don't think he's doing it on purpose, but it's just funny how it worked out that he kind of has a piece of everybody else's bag.
Yeah, the only thing wrong with him is that he's not playing any Ping or Mizuno.
That's true. Well, he has a first for Under the Covers and the PGA Tour, a putter that is from a certain manufacturer.
Oh yeah, he's got a Lab Golf DF3. He's got a pretty sick shaft in it. So he's got the TPT graphite shaft. So the DF3 being a pretty large head mallet style, low torque, as in the manufacturer's name, lie angle balanced, putter. So that's been it's actually like all over tour. It hasn't been featured on any of our under the covers yet so far this year. But when you go and like watch on TV, or if you go and watch in person, lots of people on tour are using lab putters. They have really made their way into the tour bags. They can't quite beat the Spider yet so far in 2026, but JJ is making way for them. And then his ball, he's got the Srixon Z Star Diamond. So that's their low spin tour style ball. So he's Srixon most of the way, with Srixon being a part of Dunlop Sports, which owns Cleveland. So he's got Srixon ball, Cleveland wedges, and Srixon irons, but then everything else is mixed and matched. So I'd be curious to know what his deal is with Srixon. Why they don't want him to, or not necessarily don't want him to, but why they don't force him to, use, say, the Woods or driver, like some of their other tour players.
Yeah, all that's so interesting. Like, it's got to be in his contract. Maybe he just loves the Titleist and stuff, or maybe Srixon is just so confident because it's 60% of his bag is still Srixon Dunlop Sports. Not really sure there, but going back to the lab real quick, what would you call that shape that he uses? I feel like that was the more popular shape whenever lab came out. Is that like an anvil? Like, what is that supposed to be?
The DF3 is the newer line. They came out with the original DF, which was absolutely massive. Looks like an anvil, like you said. DF2 is a little more shapely, and then the DF3 is smaller, but it's still huge. It's got the hole in the back, helps with alignment, helps with some like weight positioning. The shaft axis goes through where the center of gravity is in the putter head, and that's how you get that low torque design. And so there's a difference between lie angle balanced and zero torque. So if you were to hold the putter out, you're trying to see if it's face balanced or if it's got toe hang. If you hold it straight up and down and then bend it out to the lie angle that it would be on the ground, a lie angle balanced putter won't open or close. So it doesn't have a preference when you're actually in the shaft axis. Where zero torque is that the shaft is going directly into the center of gravity, and there's like no rotation at all on the stroke is like what you would say. So lie angle balance, you could have toe hang when the shaft is horizontal, but then when you put the putter straight up and down and then take it to its actual lie angle, you would see that there's no preference to open, if that makes sense. I feel like that might have
do with my hand.
That might be like kind of rambling, just based on like my own visualization.
No, I love hearing the specs and all of the explanation and the scientific explanation. Give me like a basic, explain it to me like I'm 5, because I know that little tool that the owner uses on YouTube where it, he lifts it up and it kind of twists, but explain it to me, because I used this joke last time when you weren't here. I totally know what you're talking about, but let's explain it for other people who don't.
Yeah. So zero torque, if I'm explaining to you like you're 5, they're the same thing. But zero torque, the shaft is going straight into the CG, and it doesn't matter what configuration, the CG is right on the shaft, and it will spin however you want it to, however you manipulate it. There's no preference because the CG is right in the middle.
CG being center of gravity.
Yes, lie angle balanced. Uh, it is all about that the face is square when the putter is at its lie angle. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so back to where it started.
Yeah, if you have a toe hang putter and you put it at lie angle, the face opens. It naturally opens. And so that kind of starts off like you're feeling some torque in your hands. So some people could say there's a difference between like the feeling of zero torque versus consistent torque. So I talk about my PLD putter all the time. I like the feeling of the consistent torque because it gives me some more like awareness of where the face is in my hands. Where zero torque, any small little manipulation of your hands, the face exactly does that. There's no preference. It's just what your hands do, the putter does.
That's insane. Is there any similarities with Kelly and Co?
Yeah, Kelly and Co is low torque. They have low/zero torque configurations, and then they have movable weights. So in the Kelly and Co putters, you can modify your toe hang so that it fits your stroke, but keep a low torque design so that the putter doesn't have quite as much preference of what it wants to do in your swing. Um, but you can configure it to actually match your stroke. So it's kind of like a blend, a bit of both. Kenny was on our episode a little bit ago talking about how he switched out his low torque neck into the center shafted plumber's neck to be face balanced. So then it does have a preference, but in the face balance configuration, the CG is now trailing where the shaft axis is. So the shaft axis is like dragging the CG along rather than if you think of like Phil Mickelson's like flow neck putter, that shaft is going nowhere. The shaft axis is nowhere near the CG. So when you're pulling that club head through impact, you're almost like dragging the heel side of the putter in, and you've got to use some torque in your hands to keep the putter actually like closing to get the face to be square at impact, if that makes sense.
It does, yes. That's gnarly. I
Yeah,
I
and
am so excited to try that out and like get fitted and kind of see where
mhm.
my because I have no gauge on where my putter stroke is at, and I hope I go pretty well. But you're always worse than you think. I feel like.
Yeah, so another interesting putter right now, Ping just released a new line of like onset putters. So they're not zero torque. They'd be somewhat low torque. But their premise is that the CG is directly behind the shaft axis so that it's almost that the shaft is dragging the CG behind it. And I think that's pretty cool. I would like to give one a try here.
Interesting. Yeah, I keep thinking of which video was it? Tiger was talking about putters these days and how they're a lot lighter and they kind of rely on some of the technology to kind of get that force on it. And then he was using his putter, which is older and heavier, and he was essentially saying
Mhm.
he lets gravity kind of do the work for the power, but just
Mhm.
keeps his hand still. So I'm curious how that works where it's offsetted like that. If it, which one does that play into? Is it lighter and it helps, or is it kind of using some of that gravity to push through?
Yeah, and putting is also like personal preference and what suits the specific player. So much of putting is mental and confidence, and you also got to be able to read greens and know what your putter is going to do in terms of like power. Some counterbalance putters can be harder to get like longer putts down. Or like you use the broomstick putter for a while, and that can be harder to figure out on like longer lengths. But once you get it, if you're confident in it, you're set.
For sure. And yeah, the I feel like I can say confidently that I'm pretty solid at reading greens, and I just want to shout out We Golf for honing in my skills. Whenever you can use that little grid selection and actually read the it's not real topography, but it kind of uses shading. And I swear that helps whenever you zoom in and read. We just hammered Wii Golf, and we got way too good at it. But I honestly think that helped me with my putting game. But good little segue here. The TPC San Antonio course, those greens seem like they were impossible to read because they seem like they were so difficult for these guys.
Right. And you've got one hole with a bunker right in the middle of it.
Yeah, which is just unreal. And that was actually what Matt, we'll get into it a little bit later, but he gave us some talking points to use since he's not here. But he was saying that the greens at TPC San Antonio are some of the scariest greens on tour. And that just kind of goes to how hard they are and how hard it is to stop the ball. And I think that kind of goes with, it's kind of hill country. It's not that hilly of a course, I feel like. It's more just the edges are really slanted down. There's a lot of that rock. I forgot the term for it, but it's really rocky on the edges, and they really keep that rough thin,
Totally. Yeah. If you miss the fairway by a little bit, you can get in some real danger on this course. And then that makes your second shot just so much more important. When we were there a few years ago, I feel like there was some like good scoring opportunities if you were like, dead accurate with your tee ball. But this weekend kind of showed how much like the weather can really affect that. I guess when, the greens were like softer and wet, guys could get, a little closer to the hole and maybe scoring was a little lower, because of that.
Yeah, and I was curious because I asked Matt, what's going through your mind whenever it's raining? Like, are you changing your game at all, or what's going on there? And his biggest thing is just keep your grips dry. That's all that really matters to him. And he even mentioned that sometimes when it's raining out, you almost don't even think about your golf game. So your headspace is a little more clear, so there's way less swing thoughts. So you're really your biggest thought is keep it dry. That's why they're always under that umbrella. It's really not for them. It's for their grips in their hands. And then I kind of equate that take to playing hungover. And I wonder if that's why John Daly is so dang good, because he was always drinking until 2 a.m. that night before. And, like, I've played some of my best golf being, like, violently hungover.
John Daly doesn't get hungover. He said that. He said he only drinks plain like liquor with no mixers or anything, because he says the sugar gets him drunk, or gets him hungover. He said he hasn't had a hangover in like 40 years.
I believe that slightly. When you're an alcoholic, you just never stop drinking, so you're never hungover. But like right. my dad used to always say that, where we're drinking and very late into the night, and then he wakes up before us because he's just blue collar boy, and then he's like, real men don't get hungover. We're just like, no, you are just way more in tuned and better at dealing with it. Okay, leave me alone. Let me go to sleep.
Yeah. John Daly also said you can't pull fat, so clearly he's a man of science.
Yeah, absolutely. So another little tidbit about TPC San Antonio is, I don't know if it's specifically this year or if it's total on tour, but it has the lowest green and regulation percentage. And you can definitely fact check me on that. I did like a quick little search. I didn't do too much research on it, so I'm curious if you can find something better. But and then my next question on that is, how much does that weather affect it? It seemed like people, nobody was above par. Nobody was shooting horrible. There's still some people that are having low scores, but I wonder how much weather and delays and crazy weather kind of factors in some of that difficulty on holes.
It certainly would, if there's a lot of wind, or like on longer clubs, so like when some water gets in between the ball and the face of the club, like sometimes you don't know where the ball is going to go. But yeah, you mentioned greens and regulation, and I still have JJ's stats up. So he was fifth in the field at 50 out of 72 greens in regulation, so that was 69%. And that does seem quite low for how low of a score he had.
I think he was just on fire with his short game and chipping and stuff. I didn't follow it that closely to know where his
Yeah,
good scores came in.
that's interesting. Yeah, because he, 16 out of 22 scrambling. He was 4 out of 7 in sand saves. He missed 22 greens in regulation, so that's wild. Yeah, his driving accuracy, he was 30 for 56, so that's 53%. So it's like these were all like pretty high numbers in the field. Hence why he won, but like compared to what you expect or what you maybe like see on TV, he was missing lots of fairways and greens.
I think it just speaks to how well he can play out of the rough and kind of get to the spot he needs to get. And then I would probably say too that his putting, I don't know if it's since he got a lab, but I know that his putting has really won him some tournaments. I mean, he had that super long one for the US Open, and then unfortunately he lost in a playoff with Rory at the last year's Arnold, but like his putting has always been really good.
Yeah, I'm gonna paraphrase, but like his comments last year was like I switched to a lab and then I won the US Open. So
That's
so
awesome.
he really credits the lab for helping him. The shaft he has to kind of obsess about his putter a little bit. The shaft he has is really cool. The TPT. They came out with a new line of putter shafts this year that they're all graphite and they're extremely low torque. So that torque being that twisting effect when you make impact, but they have different like stiffnesses. So the softer the stiffness, the softer the feel in your hands. So they've got three different ones. So you can have like extremely low torque. So you're getting the, desired effect from the graphite, but you can like really fine tune how soft you want that putter to feel. Um, and with Lab, they also have their stainless steel insert. So JJ uses the DF3, but he could use the DF3 like I, which is the insert one, and that would give a more firm feel. But then you could like custom tune that with the shaft. You can get like really, really particular with it, and I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think it also depends on what you do with it too, because I've heard so many differing stories of lab changed my life. I am so much better. I don't have to worry about putting anymore. Like I just have to worry about getting to the green. And then I've also
Hmm.
heard I paid $400 for a putter and I still stink.
Yeah, yep, 100%. I'm not totally sold on the zero torque yet, as I've said. I played with the Link one, which was their like blade style, and I really did not like it. It was like I- it mishits. I think because of that like that low torque effect, it and your hands, there's no like manipulation there. I felt like mishits were dreadful with the Link. But the DF is like a higher MOI putter, or like the Mez or the Oz. They're like higher MOI putters, so that could have just been me with the Link.
Interesting. Maybe it just wasn't set up for your kind of putter stroke. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe the Link like 1.0 is the one that I tested out before and played with. And then Lab has just recently come out with their Link 2.0 and I think 2.1, or maybe it's 2.1 or 2.2. But it's basically the new heel shafted lie angle balanced putters, and they've got a standard blade and a wide blade. I would be extremely interested to try the wide blade in their new like heel shafted configuration and see if I like that better. But so far, like in my experience, the only like low torque design putter that I've liked is the Kelly and Co.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the thing, it looks sweet too. I've, in your basement hitting a couple lefty putts has been very fun. So hopefully I can get
Hmm.
my hands on my own. I do want to shout out a super fan of Under the Covers, Tony. He actually was about to join TPC San Antonio before he moved. So he played the course a couple times, was very close to actually pulling the trigger. But I reached out and he had some pretty fun insights. So hole 9, elevated green, super cool idea. But for amateurs like us, if you miss that green, it's rolling everywhere and you're at least a double. Like you have to get it in the right spot. So it's fun, but it's not fun. Like it's a cool idea, but really hard for normies like us. And then the course itself, very long, and it definitely feels like it. Tony is not a fan of the bunker on 16. He's saying, he said, I never thought it made the hole that hard, probably because it's dead center of the green, and he's not hitting that very often anyway. But I'm curious your thoughts on that bunker in the middle of the green.
I think it's cool. I like things that are like different. Sometimes we get like just so many like cookie cutter type of holes. I love like at TPC Deer Run where the John Deere Classic is. There's like the one hole where there's just a massive tree in the middle of the fairway. I like love those holes. Or sometimes you see like two trees that you've got to like almost kick a field goal in between. I think those are fun. If it happens too often, it's too like quirky, and then you've got like one of those weird like TGL type of courses.
Yeah.
But I think that's just fun. The people on tour are so much more accurate than we are with their proximity to the hole. So I don't think that bunker like is as effective for them as it would be for like if me and you went to go play. We'd probably like end up in that bunker, and then get out and then 2 or 3 putt from there. So that would be really difficult for us. But I think for the tour guys, it's not that crazy.
Yeah, it definitely sets up for some very fun kind of pin placements for the tour. And I think what he's giving us, I think it's more of a amateur recap and kind of thought process, because he also mentions that hole 3 is beautiful. And it's actually a really cool spot as a spectator, because the hole 7 and 2 are conjoined greens, and then you also get to see 3 tee box as well if you kind of position yourself in the right spot.
Yeah, that whole course is so cool with the hotel, the Marriott there.
Massive.
We got to do a little sampling of some Garrison Brothers whiskey out back when we were just hanging out, and it's beautiful. The lobby and cutting through and making your way over to the course. It's very, very nice.
I also want to shout out the announcers. They're pretty funny. I think it was maybe the second round on Friday, but there was a couple. They kind of just react like we would when we're watching. Like somebody shanks a shot or pulls it, whatever. They're just like, "Oh my gosh, what was that?" Or "Are you kidding me?" And it was just so funny to listen to. And then Ludwig, he holes out for eagle, and I think it was hole 6, and he just hits like a shrug in the fairway, just like smiles, because that's just kind of how he reacts to everything. Is just a big smile. So then one announcer goes, "I don't think Ludwig has had a bad day in his life. What do you think?" And the other guy kind of pauses. He goes, "Yeah, Sunday at the Players Championship." Just like, damn,
Yeah,
dude.
I heard them with a pretty good comment on. I'm gonna mess up how you pronounce his name. Ryo Hisatsune, right? Is that how you say it? He had a bunker shot that he was like clearly using a slope. So he's going to like spin it and have it go back on the slope, use it as a backstop. And the announcer right off the face was like, "Whoa, flew that too long." And just totally just sold him out right off the face. But then it was like clearly intentional.
It's very fun with the game growing as it is. I think there's some aspects where you want to shrink the game, but then the cool, fun parts are, one, the apparel, shouting out our Azalea polos we got on, but then is how relaxed and how much more fun these announcers are having. Before it's, and Ludwig lines up for the putt. Oh, and he just misses it right. That's going to be a tough one to come back from. Like and now it's very much, it's way more fun now. Like everyone's loose, or their previous players who are friends with their guys. It's just so much better.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Thank you, thank you.
I think when they still do like the on-course announcers, like sometimes like Smiley walks with them, he still has to try to be a little bit quiet, but the guys up in the booth don't care anymore.
Yeah, that's also a cool thing is they're not right there on the course too. They're in their own little booth, so they can talk as loud as they want.
Hmm.
I was watching a commercial today, and it went through, and I was like, "What is this commercial for?" And then it was a paint commercial, and I was like, "Oh, Valspar, it's a paint company. Okay."
Yeah, I wanted to shout out the Valspar trophy. That I think it's like one of the coolest trophies on tour. Because some of the brand trophies are super cheesy, but I thought the Valspar one was really cool. But when we were doing our Valspar review, we just kind of like blew past it, and it wasn't worth interjecting it at the moment of the show that we were in. But I thought that trophy is sick.
Oh, it's
Do
a
you have?
paintbrush.
Yeah, it's like a paintbrush with like paint flowing off of it.
That's
It's like
sick.
so much. It's like so much cooler than some of the other like sponsor made trophies.
Oh man, yeah, we'll throw up a picture. That is cool. I can't believe we never talked about that. So that's the Valero Texas Open. I think it's time to get into a little bit of what's happening in the golf world right now. We let Matt kind of let loose and just shoot a bunch of text at us. So I'm gonna kind of go through these quick rapid talking points that he wanted to kind of share with us on the pod. So his first text: Ludwig is going to win the Masters, but so is Jordan. Jordan Spieth, that is. He has snip, snap, back and forth going between Ludwig and Jordan Spieth. I was watching Valero. Ludwig was killing it, was leading for a while. And I was literally thinking, dang it. I wish I had given Matt the chance to change so I can choose Ludwig for the Masters on one and dones. And then the classic, he just choked it again. I don't know what's happening with him. I think we can maybe talk about that with Matt and see what he thinks. But I don't know. I think now I'm happy that he has him for his one and done. Maybe we can do a little bit better.
Yeah, I still would pick Ludwig if Matt hadn't. I think he's gonna do very well at the Masters. I think he's in a good spot. But Matt's one and done picks. He has clearly set up people to miss the cut. So sorry, Ludwig.
Yeah.
It'll be a
Hey,
short
we don't make
week
the
for you,
rules.
bro.
So, in response to the Valero Open, Matt said that the tournament is going to get the axe from Brian Rolap. And we asked for a follow up. Don't really understand what he meant because he said there's no juice, there's no je ne sais quoi. And we looked up the meaning and we're still kind of confused at what he meant.
I
So,
have absolutely
maybe,
no clue what he means.
I mean, you don't really need too big of a show the week before the Masters. You know,
Yeah,
it's quite a build up to it. It's a massive tournament, and then it's the perfect tournament after doing Harbor Town. So like, it's really, I don't think you need too much in this tournament. So next text, JJ Spaun from the dead, question mark, and Chandler Phillips finally playing well. Which again, going back to his one and dones, he has been so bad, but he's also just choosing these guys way too early.
yeah. He picked Chandler Phillips way too early. I also picked Robert McIntyre way too early. This would have been a great week to have him. Maverick McNeely finally came through for me though, and was like my only good pick, and just happened when I picked him very quickly on the episode that I wasn't able to record.
So that's it for Matt's text, Matt's input. We're done with him. Um, Huge news. Phil Mickelson is officially not playing at Augusta.
Yeah, I said he's got a personal family health matter. So Phil's kind of been in a weird spot with, playing in the majors, ever since his live Saudi comments. Was kind of looking forward to seeing him play at the Masters again, just, for the fun of it. But he's been in a just strange position. Hopefully everything's okay with his family, whatever's going on.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I like you said, I hope he's doing okay because he's being very private about it, and he's normally not that private of a person, so it must be pretty serious. But yeah, just hoping everything's good with him. I wanted to throw in some fun facts about Augusta, even though we're doing a preview separately. I wanted to show some of the players that recently qualified through tournaments and their good play. So Gary Woodland obviously winning the Texas Children Houston Open 2 weeks ago. He gained his master spot with that win, which is awesome. That'll be fun to see how he does. And Matt and I kind of touched on it where maybe he kind of frees up a little bit, less anxiety on the mind. So that could be pretty fun to watch. Nikolai Hojgaard. Definitely didn't pronounce that right. Sorry, German Norway listeners, whichever he's from. He clinched a spot in the top 50 of the world ranking after his finish in Houston, and he moved up to 36 there. Daniel Berger, he was also pretty high up in the Houston Open, so he kind of secured a spot. I think he's 38 now. And then Jake Knapp, gotta love seeing Jake Knapp's Tempo Town in Augusta, so that'll be fun to see as well. Again,
to be hitting bombs.
Oh yeah, for sure. And that was at the Houston Open. All these guys are kind of at the Houston Open just because they didn't play at the Valero. At McCarty as well, he snuck in. He's at like 46, 48, something like that. And then
it's my lefty bro.
I don't know why that sounds so funny.
You might need this. That kind of...
No, keep my lefty bro.
He is. Matt McCarty's my boy.
Yeah, he is.
Lefty brethren.
JJ, of course, winning this recent tournament. He got his spot in there, so good for him. It brings the total to 91 players. Everything's locked in, so that'll be fun.
Here's my question about those qualifiers. If you were in the top 50, like in these situations, someone, whoever Matt McCarty bumped out, did they lose their spot in the Masters, or did they just get an additional?
I'm curious on that too, because the rule is top 50, and then if you win certain tournaments, you get an automatic bid or an invitation. I mean,
yeah.
So it's got to just be that number 50 going to 51. It's got to just be the one person, I'm assuming, because Jake Knapp, Daniel Berger, McCarty, they didn't play in the Valero, if I remember correctly. But I'm curious, can you just not play Valero? That way you secure that spot and you don't lose any points?
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested to see how that goes.
Yeah.
Because I don't really know.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So speaking of Augusta, I was watching a little bit of the ANWA, the Augusta National Women's Amateur, and it was electric. So Asterix Talley, that is a person's name. She is an incredible golfer. She was the heavy favorite, and especially going into that final round, I think her biggest lead was 3 or 4 strokes. And then I want to say it was 15. Oh, no, it was 12. That par 3, whichever hole it was, she hits in a bunker, and she has a very tight lie. She was saying the bunker was kind of tough, where she couldn't get enough spin on it. Rolled into the water. She had 2 options because of where it rolled out. She could go back in the bunker and replay, or go across the pond and then chip back onto the green. She chose bunker again. She was a little confident. Gets into the water again. Ends up with a quad bogey on this par 3. And then that immediately shoots Maria Jose Marin into first place. And then she was just awesome throughout the last back few holes of this course. But Maria Jose Marin, first Colombian to win the women's amateur. And it was super heartwarming. Her whole family was there. I definitely need to watch that tournament way more often.
Yeah, it is an electric tournament. I think this was their 7th year having it. Ever since I started it, it's been like primetime TV. And, it's like one of the few amateur tournaments that I like keep tabs on, men or women. Anytime you get to see rounds at Augusta, it's a blessing. But I was amazed at how young some of these like golfers actually are. Mm-hmm. There were like so many people in the top 5 or top 10 who are like younger than 20 years old. I know a lot of them are college golfers or younger. Asterix Talley, isn't she 17 and she's committed to Stanford, but she's not even in college? Yeah, and this is like the 3rd time she's played in this, or 4th time she's played in this.
Yeah, it's bonkers.
It's unreal, like how good some of these young golfers are.
And there's a men's version of the amateur here, right? Because isn't that what Bryson won way back when?
It's a good question. I don't know it. I thought the Masters and the women's amateur were the only ones at Augusta.
I thought, but I could have swore I saw something with Bryson when I was looking him up, but I could be dead wrong. But still, not to take attention
Right,
away
yeah.
from them.
I don't know.
Incredible tournament. There's a little bit of drama surrounding it too, because so many people, to kind of bypass the Masters merch tent, instead of going to the Masters tournament and waiting for the lottery, they found a way to get to the women's amateur, and they cleaned house. Like, there's people with bags on bags on bags, like trying to max out what they can buy. And I don't hate the hustle of it. I just think it's weird. Why wouldn't you sell women's amateur merch? That's a really cool logo and cool stuff. So, like, like, people are still spending money regardless, but throw in some amateur merch.
I think the Masters is a bit unique because the like tournament logo, like in the Augusta National logo, would be the same, right?
It's a little bit different.
So there's like the Butler Cabin logo, that's like the reverse colors. But say you go to the Charles Schwab Invitational, you can buy product with the Colonial logo, or you can buy product with the Charles Schwab, Invitational logo. I feel like the Masters is unique where like the logo is the same.
That's a great point, actually. I'll concede there, because they're
Yeah.
buying it for the course that they're playing at, not necessarily the tournament they're watching.
Right. Like you could have some women's amateur specific like merch, but if you're buying like merch just for the course, like when I went to the Charles Schwab, I wanted a Colonial hat. That would look like a Masters hat.
And you're wearing a TPC San Antonio hat, not a Valero Texas Open hat.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
That the women's amateur logo is sick with like the azalea with the flag on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very
Yeah,
creative
I would
logo.
really like that. I think that kind of wraps up our Under the Covers with JJ Spaun, our Valero recap, and then a little bit of news. I think it's time for some trivia. What do you got for us, Kev?
It is. You tried to ruin my trivia question earlier
Boy.
when you were asking probing questions about JJ Spawn's putter. But
Gosh.
the trivia question is, in the lab DF3 or DF2 or DF, the original, what does DF stand for? So JJ Spawn's winning putter at the Valero Texas Open is the lab DF3. What does DF stand for?
Oh, boy. I wonder if I'm thinking like F has to be face. But lab is kind of interesting. Because I wonder, is DF the shape? Is that what it's supposed to be? Oh, boy.
Yeah, if Matt was here, he would 100% know it, but
Yeah, he's a
thought
lab
this would
guy.
be a coin flip for you if you had seen it or not.
Yeah. Okay. Diamond face?
Nope. I'll
Is,
give you,
is face the F?
it is not. It's force.
Oh, that's even worse. Okay. Direct force?
Give you one more try with that.
Directional force.
Basically, yeah, directed force.
Oh, okay. I mean, yeah. I'm definitely not getting. I won't take the W.
Yeah,
But shoot.
I would give you an incorrect grade on that one, but you're close. You got your way there.
Yeah, it's close enough.
Yeah.
All right. Can I do a chug or can I sip gingerly?
I don't know. I think the rules are pretty clear. It's a beer chug.
All right. So that's unfortunate. Dang it. I can't believe I don't know. I really need to look up some more lab stuff because the technology is very cool. It's one of those where I know I'm not going to pay that much money for a lab, so I don't even look into it. But, if you're trying to have a golf podcast, you should maybe look it up a little bit.
Yeah. I would be very interested to know if you liked it or not, because you had a Spider, you've had the Odyssey 7, you've had your, Ping Blade, Broomstick, like you've played a lot of different things. I would be very interested to know what you would think of like the DF3. I could see you like absolutely loving it and you feeling like it's like the greatest putter on earth, or I could see you being like, yeah, it's not for me.
I also need to throw in my Ping, Karsten, Pal 4, Answer 2, Copperhead putter. And I hope that this outreaches somebody. I was playing at a course down in Houston, Texas. We're walking up to this green, and I fan my iron shot way right, so I'm in the rough. And then I'm going to get my ball, and currently in this bag that I have, it is all of the copper-headed irons that were hand down from my grandpa down to my brother, down to my other brother, down to me. Copper-headed clubs are awesome. And then I look in the rough, and there's literally just the exact matching Karsten copper putter. And I'm just like, did anybody leave this? Like, that's 60 yards from the green. So we're thinking, maybe not 60, because we think somebody literally just got mad and threw it into the rough. So then I went up to the pro shop. Nobody came back for it. So then I just kept it. And it's incredible.
Nice. Yeah, that's pretty fun. That's a classic.
Yeah, and then I would say Spider is my favorite performing because I'm doing very well with it. And then Nostalgia was my grandpa's the very long-faced Ping belly putter that I used, the broomstick. But then the favorite sound was definitely that Copperhead Ping, because it literally, that's where it gets the name, is Ping, because it's incredible. So I wish I can kind of mix all those together and then just make one perfect putter. That'd be sick.
Yeah, you probably could. I was thinking when you were talking about like, maybe like trying something new a couple of weeks ago. If I would love like 100% if you could play Tony Finau's new putter. It's like the onset, I guess the alley. I forget the full name of it, but Ping's brand new onset putter, and that's what I was talking. It's like center shafted, and it's onset, so the face is in front of the shaft by a little bit, but it's not like fully zero torque or like where the shaft is like leaning like the lab. And then the theory there is that you're dragging the CG right behind the shaft axis. I could see you like loving that, and your boys with Tony Finau. So
Heck yeah. Tony. No, I really want to, because whenever I putt, sometimes I'll look at a video and somehow I just like lift my putter kind of early. So I wonder if that kind of helps, where it just helps me keep that consistent contact lower down. So I'll have to try that out whenever I go down to St. Louis again. But I think it's time for our one and dones from last week. I don't even need to tell you, but just know that Matt's player missed the cut. Just kind of, it's guaranteed at this point. He chose Tom Kim, which that had to have been a joke. There's no way he seriously thought Tom Kim was going to be well. But he ended up at a placement of 88. I chose Adrian Dumont de Chassar. I'm going to keep saying that name because I can pronounce it correctly. He was T49, solid, right in the middle of the pack. And then Kevin with Maverick McNeely at a 21. But yeah, that's going to bring our totals. Matt is currently at 475, which you don't need to know everything that he's picked. Just know that it's a very high number for what we're doing. Kevin is at 271, which is way better and more normal. And then I'm at a 168 because I'm trying to talk myself up because I feel like I'm doing very well and it's not going to last. So I'm taking as much as I can.
So I'm still over 100 behind you.
Yep, just over 100.
Oh,
103.
geez. That's crazy.
Like it just takes two, maybe even just one bad one, and then you're right there. You know what I mean? So I'm talking mess as much as I possibly can.
Well, yeah, and for our Masters picks, we said majors count double. So if your pick misses the cut, that could be a big old swing.
I did forget about that, and I should have remembered before saying that. But that's actually a great segue because we're going to go through our one and dones. Like we said, Matt is not here, but the past few episodes we've been talking about how he is locked in for Ludwig as his one and done. And he's always been in last place, so he always gets first pick. So I think we both kind of wanted Ludwig to be chosen, but that's kind of the rules is person who's farthest behind gets to choose first. So Matt is locked in there. Who do you have for your one and done for the Masters?
Yeah, my one and done, I'm nervous about, but he's one of my favorite players. I just like want to pick him just because I want to pick him and I want him to win, but I don't think he will. But I'm gonna go with my ping boy, Victor Hovland.
Ooh, I love it. I actually love it.
They would be so awesome if he won the Masters. I would really have a good time watching that.
He's fun to watch, man. It's definitely like it's a feelings pick.
Mm-hmm.
Like we just want it to happen. It's something that's fun to root for. So I'm definitely a fan of it.
Yeah, I give it like similar vibes to like when Adam Scott won the Masters. Just it seemed like everyone on earth wanted him to win. That's how I feel about Hovland right now.
Same as like Rory last year. I don't
Yeah.
think there's like old heads that for some reason don't like him because he's complaining or whatever in the last few years. But it's like you cannot hate Rory. Like that's an awesome win. So same thing with Victor. I'm a fan of that. I'm also a fan that you didn't choose who I was going to pick because I really didn't have a backup. I'm going to go with Xander Schauffele. He's been killing it lately. He's always kind of there, especially with majors. And this is a crazy stat that I didn't realize until I was looking into it a little bit. In 5 of his last 7 Masters appearances, he's been in the top 10.
Wow.
Unreal stat. And one of those, he was T17, so still up there. And then the other one, he didn't make the cut. But that was like, it was 22, so it was the first year after COVID kind of hit. So everyone's there for the first time in a while. So I'm just kind of throwing that out. I don't need that one. 5 out of 7 Masters, top 10 is crazy.
Yeah, I could easily see him winning for sure. That's a good pick. I feel like for like spectating purposes, Schauffele's like pretty boring to watch, but he's like electric when it comes to like his actual ability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I remember the PGA Championship he won when he was going against Bryson there. They had the hot mic with him and his caddy, and they were talking about this approach shot, and it was a very tucked green or tucked pin right over this bunker, and his caddy's like, yeah, you know, it's 107 to the pin, and to cover the bunker you got 102. And then Xander's like, so what are you thinking, like a 104? And then caddy's like, maybe like a 105. And they're going through yard by yard where they should land it. And when you're listening to it, it was one of the first times they did a hot mic, I believe, because you're just sitting there like, get real. There's no way that you can actually put it there. And then sure enough, he lands it exactly at 104, and then it rolls to 2 feet right by the pin. It was bonkers.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so I'm excited. I think we all have some fun people to root for. So no one's going to be mad or whatever watching these leaderboards, but I think it's going to be a sweet week.
Yeah, for sure. I'm a little surprised that we didn't have a Scotty Scheffler pick. That kind of seems like the standard go-to, but you know, we're saving him for later.
He is playing. That is locked in. You know, he just had a kid recently, so I think that's kind of, he's not playing well, has a family on the way, kind of want to reset and gather before you hit the Masters up. So he took a few weeks off, but excited to see him back. I hope he does well. I hope we're wrong. I think for one and dones, I think we're just waiting to see the old Scotty. I mean, the old Scotty, last year's Scotty. See him again, and then we'll probably choose him.
Yep, 100%. He's going to have that fresh baby dad strength, so maybe he will just go out and tear it up again.
So, all right, well, I think that's it. You got anything else for us, Kevin?
I don't think so.
Beautiful.
Go Guardians. Big
Go
series win over the
Guardians.
Cubs.
I did see that. That's huge. So like we said before, we have another separate episode. It's going to be a Masters preview, potentially a live on the field, boots on the ground with Matt being there on Monday. So that's going to be very fun. Go see our draft that we kind of put together ourselves. Go follow us on our socials, Spotify, Apple, YouTube at Under the Covers Golf. A little bit on Twitter at Under the Covers G because it's too long. But super excited. It's one of the best weeks in golf. It's going to be so much fun. I can't wait. See you next week.
He knows it doesn't matter what's under a hood. The only thing that matters is who's behind the wheel.
When I'm flushing it, I don't think that it's
But again, with the driver right now, the driver sucks.
I tried to activate my glutes the best I could.
Most important thing, make sure you fade it.